Tshabalala is my guest this evening. I'm delighted to speak to her, Madam President. And I call you Madam President deliberately because I know very well that once you have stepped into the race, automatically you're declared as that. Welcome to Kenya.
Thank you so much.
Did they teach you some bit of Swahili?
Yes, they did. Jambo, what's the other one? Asante sana.
The basics are very important, so Jambo.
Thank you.
Good to have you,
yes.
and excited to equally hear what you have in store for Africa. Perhaps we begin by addressing the elephant in the room, or perhaps the greatest conversation right now as to Africa funding and donor funding for that matter. Lately, the U.S. Embassy, that is in Nairobi, has disbursed about 44 billion shillings, that is to 12 health institutions in Kenya, to keep HIV, TB and malaria services running, even as, of course, we have halt of USAID funding, as well as, of course, the numerous other fundings that we have been receiving from the West. As you visit Kenya, what do you make of this, and what does it speak about Africa, and perhaps just what do you think Africans need to do to ensure that they can sustainably handle their problems without depending on the West?
I think we are at a very interesting time in history, an inflection point, I would argue. And this has probably been ongoing without us realizing it from the time of the financial crisis, 2008, 2009. Right. We've seen that overseas development assistance has been declining for a while now. We had the pandemic, which, of course, exposed some of the weaknesses, you know, in the current, I guess, African architecture, if you like. We ran out of medicines. We ran out of basic medicines like malaria medicines during the pandemic as the world shut down. So there are some lessons that came out of that Black Swan event. And I think what's happening today is simply a continuation of that evolution that's been going on for a long time. And I think what it's forcing is for us to really assess what is our wealth. Our people are our wealth. The minerals in the ground are our wealth. Okay, so how do we then harness that wealth for Africa's development?
And any African child would ask that, because I can tell you for the years that I have been in this game of journalism, and it's quite a long time, I have been talking about the African resources, that we are rich in resources, yet we continue talking about tapping into these resources. What is this gap that sits in here such that we've not been able to actually do that and harness Africa's resource as should be?
So the gaps are many, and but I will focus on the ones that I think are the most important to get right. Okay. So one of the first gaps is the fact that we don't have the infrastructure that Africa needs. If you don't have electricity for 600 million of the continent's population, if you don't have digital, you know, infrastructure that allows access to the internet, that means that your opportunity to leapfrog, for instance, in how you deliver education, how you deliver health, you lose that opportunity if you don't have that digital infrastructure. If you don't have roads, then the ability to actually trade or even to industrialize agriculture and make sure that Africa becomes food self-sufficient is also difficult. You know, how do you have, you know, industrialized agriculture without electricity, without, you know, water and sanitation, without roads to be able to go to markets, for farmers to be able to send their goods to market. So that's one area in which, you know, there is a gap, and it affects our productivity.
Which is?
No, it affects our productivity.
Right. Do you suppose that could have informed the shrink in the processes that we've set aboard as to, you know, first of all, having an intra-Africa free trade process, talking about common currency, which would be critical, I'm assuming, in terms of making sure that even the African Development Bank is able to function, you know, purposely towards ensuring that we have an economic free Africa?
So I think that the Africa Continental Free Trade Area represents a great opportunity, but again, there are basic conditions that need to be in place